Many of you have heard the 2025 Ioniq 5 was just announced in Korea this past week, and there are many major changes coming to the car for this refresh. Now, I reacted to that news very quickly to get that video out, and there were a lot of things that I missed, but a day later, I now have many more details to share with you guys about the upcoming Ioniq 5 refresh. And I did also talk to somebody who works internally at Hyundai and got some more insider information regarding the powertrain. So if you guys want to hear about all these cool new details, then stay tuned. So yeah, I am super excited about this refreshed Ioniq 5, if you couldn't tell from my last video. But yeah, it feels like Hyundai literally just listened to every complaint I had about the Ioniq 5 as it is today, and they basically fixed every single one of them. So today I actually went back and rewatched a video I shot 9 months ago about what I wanted to see for the 2024 model year of the Ioniq 5. In hindsight, nearly none of them came to fruition, unfortunately. It seems like they saved them all up for 2025. So I'll just go down the list real quick of the complaints I had in that video. So number 1, the rear windshield wiper. Number 2, wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Number 3, the CCNC updated infotainment system. Number 4, over-the-air updates. Number 5, get rid of the low conductivity coolant loop. Number 6, new suspension. Number 7, USB-C. We've got 3 USB-C ports in the car now. Number 8 was a price drop, which we did see in one of the trims last year. All the other trims went up in price, so didn't really get to see that very much last year, but that is also yet to be known for the 2025 model year. So I made this list earlier today, and I'm gonna go through all of these changes that I didn't talk about in the previous video, and they are in no particular order. So first up, if you like the color red, there's going to be a red Ioniq 5 for the N-line trim. Looks really sharp. This car really needed some brighter, more standout colors. I'm personally a little sad that they're not bringing that awesome orange color that's going to be on the upcoming N Ioniq 5 to the US market. I would buy that in a split second. There's now a button to open the charge port to the left of the steering wheel. So if you don't want to use the key fob or you don't want to press the button on the outside of the car, you can do it right from the IP in the car. All of you who currently own an Ioniq 5 and deal with the rattling seatbelt in the back seat when passengers get them all twisted up as they take them on and off, there is now a cutout in the C-pillar of the car that should alleviate some of that rattling. And man, am I so glad to see that, because to this day, that seat rattle annoys me to death. I'm happy to see that the magnet board next to the driver display is still there, allowing you to put cool accessories like my magnetic eyewear holder right there to store your sunglasses. So glad they kept that. And they did change it from a light colored gray fabric to an all black fabric, similar to the new Kona Electric. Mine is looking really dirty these days. I haven't tried to clean it, but black will definitely be good for keeping clean. So something I didn't realize yesterday, because I didn't get to see a whole lot of video of the N-line trim from the launch event, but it is a very different interior. Namely, the steering wheel is completely different versus the standard Ioniq 5. The drive mode button is a cool little red button located on the top left of the steering wheel versus the bottom left of the steering wheel. It's got the N badging in the center, so you do lose out on the light up pixels that can show you different things, but I don't think that's a big price to pay for a really nice looking N-line steering wheel. We're also going to be seeing My Drive mode implemented in the car, and that is basically a 5th mode on the drive mode selector that enables you to pick how you want the car to accelerate, the steering feel, all sorts of cool stuff. It just makes you feel like the car is a little bit more catered to you as the driver. So talking about that charge port again, it looks like it's going to get an LED light on the inside of it. So as it opens up, that light will illuminate the charge port and you'll be able to see where you need to insert your charging cable pretty easily. So you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but Phone is Key 2 is here, and what that enables is iPhones and Apple Watches to be used to unlock and start your Ioniq 5. So previously it was limited to Android devices, and now it's opened up to Apple devices. And I wear an Apple Watch, so that could be really nice. You don't have to pull your phone out of your pocket and hold it up to the door. You can just walk up, tap your wrist on the door, and it'll let you in. So it's nice to see that, but it's still less than ideal considering like cars like Tesla, you can just be within the proximity of the car with your phone in your pocket or no Apple Watch on, and it will just unlock the doors and let you in. So the updated HVAC controls, there is now a dedicated button for driver only, as well as one for sync, to sync the passenger and the driver's side temperatures. They've also condensed the screen from 2 small little ones that display the temperature and fan speed down to one long narrow screen in the center of the HVAC controls. And it also looks like there is probably a particle counter or something in the car, because it can tell you what the air quality in the car is. It can be either poor or it can be good, and it shows you in a little display right in front of you. There's not a whole lot of details on that one though. And I will say the driver only button is nice because it seems to reset itself every once in a while. It might be related to when you start the car remotely. Most of the time I should be putting it in driver only mode and saving a bit of energy. Some of you know that the new Kona Electric for 2024 with the CCNC updated infotainment system has a manual battery preconditioning button, so you can turn it on without routing to a DC fast charger through the navigation system. We don't know for sure if the Ioniq 5 is going to get it, but if the Kona Electric has it, I really do think that the Ioniq 5 is also going to get it. Now, on the topic of navigation, there is a new mode that's called augmented reality navigation, and this is separate from the heads-up display. This looks like it turns the center display of the car into basically a video feed from the front camera, and then it overlays the turn signals when navigating and other information. I gotta say, it looks pretty cool, but I don't know why this would be any better than having the augmented directions in the heads-up display. I don't know why the passenger would need to see them. It just seems like kind of overkill, but hey, if they can make it work well, I guess that's kind of cool. Unfortunately, there's no major changes coming to the stereo system, so the base models are still going to have a 6-speaker system, and the top trims are going to have the 8-speaker plus a sub in the trunk. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not tweaks to the sound system, but overall, the layout is staying the same. Another change I noticed was the guide rails for the hatch in the back of the car, and this is probably due to the fact that 2021 through 2024 Ioniq 5s have been dealing with this squeaking and rattling sound, which Hyundai has determined has been caused by the guides that center the hatch when it is shut. And they have issued multiple technical service bulletins over the last year for their dealers to be able to fix the squeak, but a lot of owners still have issues even after replacing these parts. So glad to see they're trying something new here. So the motor outputs are exactly the same. The dual motor will still have 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque, so nothing new there. There's a new safety feature called multi-collision auto braking, which basically, if you lose control and hit something, the car will hit the brakes to stop you from going back into a lane and possibly impacting and hurting somebody else. In regard to the infotainment system, it is also going to be powered by a new chip that should make it much more zippy and much more snappy, so looking forward to that for sure. So the Ioniq 5 is also going to have active sound design, which has been on the Ioniq 6 since it launched, and basically what that does is it creates a simulated sound of acceleration as you gain speed. I personally don't really like it. The peace and quiet of the silent interior is what I like in my car. I don't really need to hear the sounds of acceleration. And guess what? For 2025, the Ioniq 5 is going to get walk-away locking doors. So that is a feature that people have been begging about for years, and it should be a proximity-based system. But if you own an Ioniq 5 today or an EV6, then you might be interested in that product that I'm selling in my store, which is a little auto lock module. So when all the doors of the Ioniq 5 or EV6 are shut, after 10 seconds, all the doors will lock. And to install it, all you got to do is plug it into the trailer light wiring harness that is pre-installed from the factory. It's basically just plug and play, and then you will have the feature on your car. So check out the links below to see the installation instructions and see if it's something that you might like for your car. All right, so these next few things were told to me by somebody working internally at Hyundai. So the first thing they told me is that there is going to be an entirely new ICCU, or Integrated Charging Control Unit. This basically is in charge of all the charging for the car. And ICCU failures have been an issue with the current Ioniq 5 and EV6. And so it's nice to see that it is going to be a complete redesign, but with redesigns, sometimes there's more issues, but all we can do is keep our fingers crossed that this new ICU is a little more reliable than the current ones. This new 84 kilowatt hour battery pack has lower internal resistance. And if you don't know much about electricity, low resistance is what you want. You want those electrons to flow as freely as possible. That eliminates that electricity being turned into heat energy, which is energy that the car can't use for propulsion. So lower resistance in the battery pack is just an all-around great thing. This person also tells me that Hyundai is considering adding the simulated shifting to all Ioniq 5. This is a feature that the Ioniq 5N has, where you can use the paddles on the back of the wheel to simulate a downshift or an upshift, and it has like rev matching with the motor. I don't know why you would want that in an EV, specifically a base Ioniq 5 that is just going to be more of a commuter vehicle for most people. It's not going to be a track car. So I don't really know why they would want to do that. Just save it for the Ioniq 5N, or at least maybe the N line. but I don't think the base model Ioniq 5s are going to need that. So because this new Ioniq 5 is already going on sale in Korea this month, I was able to look at their price sheets and convert them to US dollars. And the car is actually pretty similarly priced to the way it is today. So it's going to start at about $41,500. The N-line trim is going to start at about $47,500. And the top trim, at least in Korea, is going to go for about $49,500, which is significantly cheaper than the top trim here in the US. So purely speculation, we don't really know how these are going to line up for the US market, especially considering the Georgia plant being built right now is likely going to be opening in Q4 of 2024. So the Ioniq 5 is going to be built in the US relatively soon, and that could really bring prices down. If they could get the Ioniq 5 starting sub $40,000 again, like when it first launched, that would be excellent to see. And they've got so much new competition coming to the market every month. So they really got to stay price competitive if they want to continue selling Ioniq 5s. But for me personally, I honestly think this is like the perfect EV now with all of these changes. The only complaint that I really have left is the sound system, but honestly, that's just nitpicking at this point. All these other changes really add up to make it a much more complete vehicle. So anyway, guys, what do you think of all these? Do they make the vehicle even more interesting and more likely that you would upgrade to it? Let me know down in the comment section. I love hearing your guys' thoughts on the matter. But as always, if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see these videos first before anybody else, consider becoming a channel member. For $3 a month, you can get early access to all of my videos as well as some other little niceties. So if you're interested, click the join button down below and you'll find out all the details. Check out my website, ioniqguy.com, for cool accessories for your Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, Kona Electric, Kia EV6, or Genesis GV60. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.